Cheers, guys. Epix 911, welcome to the Elitist Geek for
Gaming Friday. Yeah.
Gaming Friday, indeed.
Okay, now this upcoming round of Golden Axe here is for James Chesterton, who requested it last weekend. Any of you guys want to see me play something else next Friday? Leave it in the comments. I'll be glad to do it.
The enjoyment here, guys, is while I blabber on, you get to see him suck in the background.
Oh, is that so? No, what you're going to get to see is me destroying your high score like a little bitch that you are.
Bring it on, bro.
You got it.
Bring it on, man. All right, let us jump into the news with that out of the way. All right, let's talk about Meta. Now, Meta was a company that I'd brought up probably about 5 months ago for the last time, and they showcased some pretty cool augmented reality. I don't do a lot of augmented reality news on the channel, unless it's something that I see as kind of like a bridging technology, and that's for no real reason. I mean, it is a VR channel, I guess that would be the main reason, but I'm not as impressed by augmented reality for augmented reality's sake. What I do see is it acting as an amazing bridge towards mixed reality solutions, and I think this device from Meta is one of those that's going to be a bridging technology. They were supposed to release this by the end of the year 2016, at least that was the speculation. That has absolutely not come to pass. With about 2 weeks left, it's probably not going to pass. But they did show an unboxing video. Now, I did get a little bit of a chuckle out of the fact that usually unboxing videos are done by kind of, independent third parties. Not the director of marketing, but anyways, it at least gives you an opportunity to see what's inside the kit. And they look like really quality components. The first thing that they address is the felt pad stand. And the reason I think that's good to mention is as soon as you see that visor of theirs, you are thinking that thing is going to get scratched up 10 ways to Tuesday. It's bulbous, it sticks out, it's a massive point of contact. Whereas with our HMDs for VR, all the expensive stuff is pretty much hidden in the interior, not on the exterior. So, well, I guess Vive aside with all those sensors, but they're still encased, right? So, yeah, it was a neat video to see the parts. You even got to see a bit of the calibration, not the software side, but visually the scan that he did with his head. And then the actual augmented reality, which looked a lot like Microsoft's HoloLens, but obviously this isn't as high-end consumer as that solution. This one is more kind of for the end user, the home user, but still, like I said, it really looks to be a bridging technology, which I think is pretty exciting. So from that aspect alone, I'll probably be following it into release and beyond. All right, next story. Drifter acquires $2.25 million US to build virtual reality esports games. If you had asked me 8 months ago, Epix, which company do you think is going to, get behind esports in VR? My guess would have probably been Electronic Arts, just from the point of view that they have pretty much monopolized sports games in terms of video game sports games for the better part of 2 decades, and they are still right at the top. Now, whether you like their games or not, I mean, the sales figures pretty much speak for themselves. They sell well, and they keep many, many people employed. So I just found it odd that another company beat them to the punch, at least publicly. It's not to say EA isn't working on something behind the scenes, but if they are, they have yet to announce it. All right, now Drifter itself is a company, it's a trio from a varied background of stuff. Listen to just the resume here. Microsoft HoloLens, Oculus Rift, Xbox One, Unreal 4 engine, and the following games: Gears of War, Doom 3, Halo 4, and Bullet Train. So these guys certainly have the resumes. Hopefully that translates into quality titles, esports titles. And absolutely no details on the types of games, just the very vague, general, Captain Obvious statement of the titles we're working on are ambitious experiences designed for a new medium. Next up, future of mixed reality is much bigger than Magic Leap. Now, we talked about Magic Leap a couple of times, and it's not about picking on them by any means. The newsworthy part about discussing Magic Leap is the fact that they have made very bold, aggressive claims about their technology, and to date have yet to back any of it up. And there's been articles, if you look at recently, articles basically calling them out on that. You would think if they did have something, at the very least, perhaps they don't care about the critics or the negativity, fair enough. But I think it would have been much more effective from a marketing point of view for them to say, oh yeah, look at this. But what have we heard? Basically crickets, nothing. And again, that doesn't mean they don't have anything. It's just they haven't shown us anything. Now, other companies, however, in the meantime, have been working on the same challenges and problems that Magic Leap has, but have shown that technology. And more importantly, they've shown the technology in the form of a device small enough for a consumer to realistically wear. And one of those companies is actually UK, Oxford to be specific, company called Wave Optics. Their CEO, Sumanta Talukdar, he's confident that not only have they addressed some of those challenges, they were able to show those challenges being overcome. The author of the article tried their headset, which they nicknamed the Ghost, and that headset took about 10 months for them to develop. But the holograms that he saw in them, he said they retained their sharpness and bright colors even when I moved my head quickly or faced the window, projecting them against natural light. Crucially, however, the display was fully transparent and the field of view significantly wider than what you get with the HoloLens. And that's pretty powerful right there, because it's them showing that challenge overcome in a technology in the form of an HMD, which we've all gotten comfortable with via augmented reality and virtual reality. Also, the city that I live in, just to kind of wrap that story up, here in Vancouver, Microsoft's office here in Vancouver, their local one, released a demo and showcased it of a title called Robo Raid, which looks very similar to the Magic Leap demo, where they're blowing up aliens in an office space environment, only, again, they showed the technology. They were able to demonstrate definitively that, yes, it's coming from this technology. So, again, not to say that Magic Leap doesn't have something. It's just, I think we're all getting to the point where we'd actually like to see it, to be able to publicly support them more and not be worried that it's all going to amount to nothing. All right, next up, second chances, how VR could be used to rehabilitate convicted criminals. Now, this article comes to us via Upload VR, and what I like about it is we hear a lot in other countries, and I say we as an outsider to those of you inside the United States watching this. There's always the stereotypes of the American, prison system being the worst in the world with the highest incarceration rates, blah, 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 lots of statistics. They rarely talk about the successes. Yes, the statistics are pretty grim. When you've got statistics like half of the 700,000 released from federal and state prisons return within 3 years, or that 60% of inmates are considered deemed functionally illiterate. They rarely talk about the points like the percentage of inmates that, if offered education, succeed and do not reoffend, an equally high percentage, 43%. That's where VR comes in. It has the ability to train inmates, even the most aggressive ones, using safe tools and safe virtual reality technology. And we've talked about that in previous things on education. It just makes so much sense when you apply it to the prison system. So it'll be interesting to see what this initiative comes up with and what the results are and how successful it ultimately is. All right, next up in news, let's talk about virtual reality marketing. We've talked about this before, but usually in the form of articles connected to a product or a service. This one seems to be much more independent. It's from theguardian.com. It talks about the technology points or just points in general with regards to VR that will ultimately help it or help others market the technology. They talk about treating technology as the platform, not the idea. And I think that's important, especially in telling stories. You don't want to be hung up on the technology. You want it to feel natural, organic, and immersive. And some developers hit that on all cylinders. Others kind of struggle under their own weight. You know, they're a little too much about the technology. The message doesn't get across, and ultimately it's not as immersive as it probably could be. Then it's evoking emotion, and I have to agree with that. I think the most successful VR experiences for me has been when there's emotions involved. And you may look at a title like Raw Data, for example, or Elite Dangerous, and not see emotions involved. Absolutely incorrect. The wonder I felt about flying into a rotating space station, literally scaled large enough that it would take up 10 blocks of the city in which I live. I mean, these things are massive. Oh, hell, more than 10 blocks, 30 blocks. Just really impressive. Other times it's emotions like empathy, like in the Goblins experience. That was fantastic. It wasn't a game, it was just an experience. Again, wonder and awe. Very powerful in terms of assisting immersion for the person going through the experience. Tickling the senses kind of goes without saying. Taking inspiration from the world around you, again, a lot of times it's the simplest things that translate the best to virtual reality. It doesn't have to necessarily be fantastic environments. It can be just mimicking everyday drab environments like an office in the lab, for example, or a kitchen, and still be just as entertaining. And then finally, they talk about personalizing the experience, integrating it. There's kind of the rest of the points kind of meld in on each other. Some of it's a little Big Brother. I'm kind of not really behind. I sure as hell wouldn't want a VR experience, going through my cookies and browser history and basing any experience or gameplay on that. That would probably be pretty horrifying at times. Yeah, I wouldn't want to go there. But stuff that I can control, that I can input, likes, dislikes, and have that come out in the game, no problem. All right, next up, WordPress. And WordPress has been around for blogging forever. They have recently announced, as of today actually, that all blogs hosted by them are going to get the ability through WebVR to host virtual reality content, 360-degree videos or photographs that are 360. And the experience is going to be different depending on how you access the site, whether it's desktop, mobile, or through the HMDs direct. Those limitations obviously based on exactly that. Whether it's mobile or desktop, the experience is going to be slightly different, not necessarily better, just different, because they all have their strengths and advantages. All right, guys, that is it for VR news tonight. As always, cheers, and definitely, especially now, I'm on holidays officially as of today, 19 days. See you on the VR flip side. Slack time indeed, bro. Cheers.